And welcome back into another episode of Coffee, Camera, and Country Earl. And joining us on this episode is our state representative for the 90th District, Derek Lewis, for Clay County, Leslie County, and a portion of Laurel County. Welcome back, Derek.
Happy to be here. Country Earl. Always a pleasure. And when we did this back during election season, I thought it was a really good thing for the voters. And happy to be back and give the people of Clay County a legislative update, and for anybody watching. But I think this is a really good thing, keeps the citizens informed, and happy to do it. This is the way government should work.
Well, we talk about the legislative session. It just went into session, had maybe a little bit over a week. Some of the things that were accomplished during that time. And again, it takes a whole lot more than just Derek Lewis and his constituents and the state representatives. You've got the senators, the House down there. Everybody has to come together along with our governor. But what were some of the things that did get done during the first part?
Well, we went, when COVID really started hitting in March, we went for several months. I won't make this a partisan thing. All I will say, unless it goes that direction, all I will say is I wish that the executive branch, I wish that the governor had worked with the legislature more. We're the people that are talking to the constituents. My phone number is public, and I get calls every day, and whether it be unemployment calls, whether it be liability protections for businesses, whether it be anything COVID related. But on the unemployment side, I'm talking to people who are getting ready to lose their homes, who can't pay their bills, can't feed their kids, and that is an issue in the state. And we shouldn't be in this situation. So we're working on a few different things to address that, but it's one of those deals where if we had worked on it sooner rather than later, we could have accomplished a lot more and helped a lot more people. That being said, we are helping people go forward with unemployment. But the first week, just to touch on a couple bills, I was really proud of House Bill 1. And House Bill 1 really allowed us to find a way forward and being able to open our businesses and keep them open, our schools, our churches. And what that bill did, it was pretty simple, but following either CDC guidelines or the state's recommendations, whichever is least restrictive, and having those posted in a business. And, of course, you can't be negligent with this thing. COVID is real, right. But we have to take precautions, of course. But going forward, we're talking about people's livelihood here. And so I was really proud of that bill. A couple other provisions on that is on nursing homes. I talked to a lot of constituents who wanted to see their family who were in nursing homes, and whether we're talking mental health or healthcare in general, family members were essentially being left on islands and they couldn't be visited. So we have a provision that would allow these nursing homes, should they choose, to develop provisions where they could allow visitation from family members. In addition to that, there was some foster care issues that Representative Meade brought up and added to it as far as visitation rights. I thought that was a really good thing. On the Senate side, they had Senate Bill 1, and that dealt with the emergency powers. And so that deals with Section 39A of the Constitution. And Section 39A was put into place back in 1998 to deal with emergency, disasters, states of emergency. And in that, when you think of a state of emergency, you think of, the flooding, Barville getting flooded, or you think of maybe the tornado that touched down in West Liberty. You don't think of a long-lasting pandemic and one person having complete control of the state for such a long period of time. So with that, we got together with the Senate and we put some checks and balances in place. And so the governor should absolutely have the power to declare a state of emergency, because you're talking about having to take swift action. That being said, there needs to be time constraints on this. And so what we put in place was a 30-day window to where the governor could call a state of emergency. But after 30 days, the legislature would have to be called back in and would have to, justify continuing the state of emergency, making changes, whatever have you. But the main thing being, I'm elected by the people of Leslie, Clay, and Laurel County. I'm your voice in Frankfort, and so all this bill does is making sure that you have a voice in Frankfort during a state of emergency and bringing checks and balances. You know, there's 138 of us, there's 100 in the House, there's 38 in the Senate, and these are the voices that represent all of Kentucky. It shouldn't just be one person making these decisions, regardless of party.
I know one of the things that you were really excited about was House Bill 254,
Yes.
something that you had been working on, developed. Let's talk a little bit about what is included in House Bill 254.
Absolutely. It's, you know, it's somewhat of a sensitive subject. It's one that matters a lot to me, though. I actually had this bill last year, and with COVID and everything going on, I contemplated not bringing it up this year. However, you know, the Attorney General, he's a good friend of mine, Daniel Cameron, his office reached out, and they really felt strongly about this bill. And so with that and me speaking with leadership, you know, let's go. So what this bill does, and again, this is a sensitive subject, but it deals with the exploitation of minors. And so what I mean by that, this past couple years, whether it be Jeffrey Epstein, Save Our Children, you know, kids are being exploited out there. And it's the same whether it's in Clay County, whether it is in Louisville, whether it's in California, wherever, kids are being exploited. And so this is a major issue and should be dealt with in the harshest of ways, in my opinion. But my bill in particular deals with the distribution or possession of pornography involving a minor, and so a minor being any but one under the age of 18. Currently in Kentucky, that is a Class D felony. What this bill would do would make it a Class C felony if the minor is under the age of 13. Because, I mean, let's face it, I mean, it's awful. No matter what, it is awful.
Yes, it is.
But there's a big difference between a 6-year-old and a 16-year-old. Big difference. We should treat it harsher under the law. And you know, I'm on camera, but if we could do more than a Class C felony, I wouldn't be opposed to it. But
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, and so I'll say that on record. For subsequent offenses, it would be a Class B felony. Currently, it's a Class D and then a Class C for subsequent offense. But these are the people, you know, these are the people that are out there. They're dangerous, and,
Right.
and we need to address this issue. This is a small step. And I'm 100% for criminal justice reform, but in the case of these people, we need to lock them up. They're not safe.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. You're a father. I'm a father. The folks in charge, Mitch, Eddie, we're all fathers.
Yeah.
And a lot of people watching are. There's nothing more precious than our children. And it's our job to look out for our children until they become adults. Of course, we never stop caring. We never stop looking after them. But
Right.
we have to guide them. And dad and mom has to be their protector until they reach a certain age, until they hopefully can go out on their own and become great adults. COVID-19, the coronavirus, we have learned so much about it. We've heard so much about it. The Moderna has been passed out 2-step. I know Pfizer has the 2-step. I was reading something the other day, don't know all the logistics on it, but there was a company, might have been Johnson & Johnson, don't hold me to that, but said they may have come up with the first ever 1-step vaccination. With the vaccinations, a lot of people in this viewing area are getting ready and are going through now their second shot, their booster shot. Now, COVID-19 numbers are starting to fall. We see that every day. We see the numbers from the Cumberland Valley District Health Department, which has Clay, Jackson County, and Rockcastle County. Then Kentucky River, of course, is part of Leslie, Owsley, some of the other counties watching. The numbers are dropping. Where do we go from here? I've heard the stories, of course, been in the media business here, marketing, public relations business here. So many business people are not opening back up. I know that the emergency thing for restaurants on this last lockdown was passed, but your ideals, where do we go economically? And man, it seems like every time in the mountains here, in particular, Derek, big government kind of took away the tobacco farmer. Big government, one side a little bit toward the left to try to take away the coal miner. And honestly, it really dealt us a blow in Eastern Kentucky. And now, as we start to try to figure our way out with the help of a lot of communities, people like Derek Lewis and Senator Stivers and other ones, it's like we get to this point to we're like, okay, we're trying to get over coal, the domino effect, all that had it, and boom, here's COVID-19. And I mean, we were developing tourism basically as our payday. Not that that's going to take the place of tobacco and farming and coal, but now other farming products, I will go on record saying that, other farmers have started to develop other ways and means of supporting their families and earning an income with the family farm, which is wonderful. So happy they can do that. But, now we hit COVID. And the thing is, COVID may be dying down, whether it's we building up a resistance, the vaccinations. The thing is, we have to go on afterwards. So where do we stand maybe in your eyes? Sure. And you're the voice of one. You're also a businessman. And I know you've probably been hurt by the COVID-19 too. I mean, but where do we go from here?
I think about everybody has. That's a good question. And so let's define some of the issues first. COVID came, businesses shut down. Some of the businesses that are shut down, they will never open their doors again. They have closed their doors. A restaurant is such, you work off such slim margins that once those doors are shut, it's hard to open back up. Even then, let's say you are allowed to open, but you have capacity restrictions. Well, if your margins are slim and you reduce capacity, is that enough to carry you? A lot of cases, it's proven it wasn't, and that's an issue that we will be reeling from for quite some time. I think the environment itself has changed. If you look at how people approach public gatherings these days, I think you will see less people going to these public events, or maybe they take more precautions. So there have been lasting changes. As for the vaccine rollout, I am, if you feel comfortable with the vaccine, go for it. Right. I'm not for mandatory vaccines. That's not the government's place. So I'm not for that. That being said, if you're comfortable with it, take it. I was offered it myself, but I turned it down, not for any reasons on having concerns about the vaccine, but right now it's in such short supply. I mean, that could go to the nursing home down the road. That could go to a school teacher. There's so many other people before me, that could use that, and at my age range and risk, I think you really have to take that into effect. And now down the road, I'll probably get it, but not until I'll be the last one. And I don't think politicians should get it first. That's just me.
I think the vaccine is a wonderful thing. I will say that, because we have to. Not too many people watching this was alive in 1920 when we had the Spanish flu that came through, one of the great pandemics. Of course, we've been kind of working on the swine flu, H1N1, bird flu, and all these different types of things that have been popping up the past 10, 12 years. But we've never seen nothing like this. I am thankful for the vaccine. And I'm like you. If I go to a business, I'll have my mask on. Sure. I don't have any problem with that. Protecting myself from hurting someone else, I agree with that wholeheartedly. But like you say, there has to be a fine line. They can't be government mandated, because the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the Bluegrass State was not designed that way.
Right. Well, even now, Earl, we're doing this show, and we're keeping our space between us and being responsible. And same thing, I don't like the mask, but at the same time, if that's what we have to do, we have to do. And out of respect for others, I'll gladly wear my mask. It's not that big of a deal. Can't breathe in the thing, but hey, if that protects somebody, I'm 100% for it. Now going back to your question on how do we go forward? Well, that starts with House Bill 1, which I talked about previously.
Right.
That gives us a blueprint as far as what we can do going forward, and allowing businesses to open and run, and are getting our kids back in school, and our churches open. I mean, there's so many other impacts, and then we talk about, every day we see a death total, we see more cases, and it's absolutely awful. And let's not downplay that at all. At the same time, we have to be cognizant of the additional impacts that this is having. So what I mean by that is, let's talk about the restaurant owner that goes under and has to lay off all these jobs.
Right.
Let's talk about the business owner who took their life savings and built a business up, but now they're having to close it, and they went through all their life savings, and now they're having to file bankruptcy. And so maybe their child is applying to college, and all of a sudden, you can't go to the school that you wanted to because there's an affordability issue. Or maybe we're talking unemployment, and these are people I've talked to, and
right.
They've pawned off everything they own, things that are sentimental to them, that have value to them, just to put food on the table for their kids, just to pay their light bill. And
no one should have to do that.
No, it's not acceptable. It's not acceptable. So going forward, I've actually co-sponsored a bill with several others on reopening up our unemployment offices. And I hope to see some work done in the budget to expand, whether that's contracting out, whether that's hiring additional people. But we have 90,000 claims in the state right now that are unresolved, several from all the way back in March.
Wow.
And that is not acceptable. It must be fixed, and we're working on it. I promise you that.
We've had a great chat here on the show this time, and not even mentioned water, and not even mentioned roads. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah.
When you talk to your legislatures, you one of the things you talk water and you talk roads, and I guess in now today's world, fiber optic, which, thankfully Eastern Kentucky is actually moving along very nicely from that standpoint. But hopefully when we sit back down together, we can talk about how the COVID-19 cases are continuing to drop, and the domino effect of things opening back up is helping your local communities. And especially, we talk about tourism. Now, a lot of the outdoor tourism you can still do through the pandemic. It's one of the safest places you can be is, mask up or run 6 foot apart from each other. But tourism is going to be, I think, one of our great saving graces in the mountains when we all work together. You were a part of the big 32 county trail area. You've been working hard on that. Some others that have been working hard on that. But all that comes back together for restaurants, the local taste of each community. You travel a lot. I travel. The folks here travel. A lot of you have. One of the things I really enjoy, every new town I go to, is going to the mom and pop place that I've never been before. I mean, it just, and you get the, you get the history of the town, the people, the food is great, and it's, going directly into a family-owned business that's helping a family in those areas. So hopefully all that's going to start coming back real soon.
Absolutely. So the Kentucky Mountain Regional Recreational Authority, we got to work on the name, is getting ready to hire an executive director, and so that should start taking off. I had the pleasure of working with Representative Chris Fugit over in Perry County on that, and what that will do, it will create a trail system between all of our counties. It gave private landowners liability protections. That way you would be able to use their land if they agreed to do that. And hey, for the people out there, the entrepreneurs, if you want to open up a cabin or maybe do kayak rental, I mean, there's lots of possibilities with that.
Yes,
you mentioned internet. Last session we passed House Bill 362, and what that does, it creates a fund within the general fund for us to fund and grant monies to internet service providers to expand internet into rural areas and very much underserved areas. We have to do better with that here, and so that's the intent of that bill. I would like to see if there's another round of federal dollars that are coming down. I would like to see us dump money into that fund, and let's get it out there, and let's expand broadband here in the Eastern Kentucky. I mean, anymore, it's the equivalent with power and water. It's right up there, and you underscored that point.
Absolutely.
So we have to do that as well.
Any company coming here, that's one of the first things he asks now.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I mean, you've dined with a lot of them, trying to recruit business to Clay, Leslie, and Laurel County. I know you've met with a lot of people that could bring jobs here, and that's one of the first things they say. How's the internet service? How's the fiber optic service? That goes hand in hand with electric and water and everything else. But you know, who would have thought 30 years ago we'd be having a conversation to where internet played such an integral part in a company locating in your community? But you know, certainly it does today.
No, absolutely. And you know, you talk about, you know, the small towns. You know, every place is unique. Every place is different. They have things that are weaknesses. They have things that are strengths. And Clay County in particular, we have a lot going for us here. We just need to tap in and shore up a few things.
Right.
But I mean, we're in an opportunity zone. We got plenty of land to put manufacturing.
Still in the promise zone.
Still in the promise zone. I mean, I would like to see ultimately an expansion on Hal Rogers Parkway. I think that needs to happen, and going all the way to Hazard. But we have a lot of great things going for us here, and too often than not, I think we get down and think about the things that, we don't have this, or we don't have that, and it goes back to the beginning. You know, I could be partisan right now. I could talk about all the other things that I think we should have done differently. That's not productive, though.
No.
We need to look going forward, and so there's some things that we can shore up. And so what I've tried to do, and President Stivers has worked with me tremendously on this as well, is setting up what do we need to do, what's our next steps, and you know, I think it goes from there. We keep moving forward. I mean, any progress is progress, and it just takes time. But we are getting there. We are making this progress, and I mean, it's just a matter of time. I want to give a shout out to Volunteers of America, by the way. I think they've been a godsend to this community in Eastern Kentucky as a whole. I would like to see expansion of that. I'm actually co-sponsored on a bill with my friend Representative Adam Bowling in Bell County, and he represents Harlan as well, on recovery-ready communities, to where we can take we can start trying to become certified, kind of like work-ready communities, and really start battling this addiction crisis. And we're still in it. And so when we talk about workforce, you know, we talk about having the sewer capacity, we talk about having the internet, we talk about all these things, but too often not, we don't talk about workforce. And so workforce is critical, and you know, we're getting there, and we're laying the foundation, but it just takes time, but we are getting there.
Well, Derek, our time is just about gone for this episode, and I know you're going to be back quicker this time. We've had basketball, you've had session, everybody's been running around. The weather's not really cooperated when we've tried to do a couple of things, but certainly want to say a big thank you to you for always being gracious enough to drop in, give us an update on the. Anytime we call, they can be 7, 8 o'clock at night, and Derek's here to record, or it can be 8 in the morning. Derek's here to record with a smile on his face, and he's here to help the constituents. Certainly want to thank the folks here at 88 Music, Philip, Brandon Tyler, of course, Mitch Hawkins, and Eddie Smith, Cats TV, and the Southeast Kentucky Network. Our Facebook page, remember to like that Facebook page for local sports, these local shows, and a lot of other things to come on those networks as well. But again, Derek, special thanks to you. Keep up the good work. Not just saying that because you're in my presence. I truly mean that. Keep up the good work, and thank you for what you do. It's not easy.
Absolutely. It's an honor to represent the people of Clay County, Leslie County, and Laurel County. If you all need anything, just give me a shout. Thank you.
See you next time.